Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Old Man Rambles. Now, I want to talk about the anti-trans bill in Kansas. And initially, I hadn't planned on talking about this, but it's been on my mind quite a bit. Um, Other states have similar bills, um, similar attempts to um, curtail the existence of trans people, as one way of putting it. But I think this bill particularly has certain elements that are a bit more egregious than others that I want to talk about. For those who aren't aware, this was about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure the exact date anymore. Um, Kansas enacted a bill that stated on your state ID it had to have the gender that you were born with. So if you had if you had transitioned from male to female, your state ID could not say gender female. It had to say gender male, regardless of what your name was, how you dressed or presented yourself. It was required to have the gender of your birth. Now, there are less than 2,000 trans people in the state of Kansas. So this bill does not affect 99.9% of the state. And I can already hear some people arguing, well, if it doesn't affect that many people, why does it matter? And my response to that is, if it doesn't affect that many people, why was this law created in the first place? This law is created and exists only to deliberately affect those several hundred people. It has no other reason to exist but to call it and identify trans people. It was designed to discriminate. It was designed to invalidate their their internal identity, and to help other people identify who they are. It is a version of the Scarlet Letter, more or less, which bothers me a lot, because these people didn't break any laws. These people were just existing in a way that certain people didn't like. And so this law was designed to disenfranchise them of their right to live as they choose. Like I said, they weren't bothering anybody except by existing, and people not liking the fact that they're existing in that way. Whether or not you believe that identity is valid is really irrelevant, because it's not your identity, it's theirs. People have a right to live their life as they choose. If your chosen right to live is to not like these people or to say that their identity is invalid, that's fine. You can believe their identity is invalid, but you don't have the right to make it a law to invalidate their own, because you are singling out people for the sole reason that you don't like that they exist in the way that they choose to exist. So this law has no intention and no reason to exist except to discriminate against a certain group of people. And there is another thing, and which kind of what made me want to bring this up, beside the other things of leave these people alone kind of thing. This law took place immediately, which there was no reason for it. There was no emergency. There was no one's life was in danger. No one's safety or was in danger of in any way, shape, or form. What that means is, the instant this law was signed or made law, it invalidated their driver's license, which means these people could no longer legally drive. Any permits that required their identification that they had with their trans identity were now invalid. Any actions or legal proceedings or anything of that form that required their identity, their state ID, were now invalid. It put these people at risk of losing transportation to their jobs, potentially any legal actions they were following. There was no need for this to take place immediately. They could have given them like 30-day warning. So this law will take effect in 30 days, 60 days, 9 days, whatever, to give them some time to try and correct their ID. They were not given that time because no one wanted them to have the time. They wanted to punish them. This was enacted as a punishment because there was no reason for it to happen this way. The best spin you could possibly put on this was that it was an oversight. That's the best way you could possibly phrase this. Is that, oh, we didn't think about it when we said it was enacted immediately. We didn't think how it would impact these people. Well, so you either did it deliberately or you did it without any concern for the people it might affect, which is crap. And I'm just going back over this. It's like, whether or not you agree with people's identity as trans, they have a right to exist as they choose. As long as they have broken no laws, as long as they have done nothing illegal, as long as they have done nothing to harm anyone. And I felt the need to rephrase that because just because something's legal doesn't mean it's right. As long as they have done nothing to harm anyone, your only complaint about them is that you don't like their existence. The fact that they exist cannot be causing you harm simply because you don't like it. So as long as these people have done no harm to anyone, they have a right to live their life as they choose, whether you agree with it or not, whether you like it or not. Please leave these people alone and stop being such dicks about it. Good hunting.